Hey, what's up? It's Tekamaku, Mr. Notary on Automation, and I'm broadcasting live from the hotel. Where I'm getting my commission renewed. I wanted to say something about some of the training. Where the heck is my key? Did I leave my key now? Oh, I got it. Hey, what's up, Tiger? What up, Tossa? I wanted to check in with you guys live from the hotel, live from the Hilton, where I'm renewing my commission. The training is interesting, man. I don't know if you noticed, but California has some of the most rigorous laws when it comes to people getting notary commissions. She said something that was interesting, but I think it was incorrect. Now, here's the thing: when you're taking these notary commission exams, she made a great point. She said that there's 3 categories that California will put you into. You can be like a military notary, you can be a public employee notary, or you can be a private employee notary. Good day to you, Tossa, Monique. So she said something that I don't think was true, but here's the thing. It was true in the sense that in order to pass the exam, you're gonna have to answer the question in that manner as those 3 categories: either a military notary, a public employee notary, or a private employee notary. So, for example, let's say you were in the Air Force and you were commissioned on that military base. You would only execute notarizations there. But if you were a public employee notary and you work for a UPS store, or you work for a bank or a hospital, any type of organization, and you only perform notarizations within that establishment. But if you were a private employee notary, then in that case, the way that you're acknowledged by the state in which you're in your jurisdiction, in this case the entire state, is not the same. So if you're a private employee notary, then that means you kind of is what we would call a notary business owner or a notary entrepreneur. A loan signing agent would fall under the category of a private employee notary, because as a loan signing agent, you don't necessarily work directly for the title company unless you were a public employee notary. Then that means that you work for Chase Bank, or you work for some facility, and you, as a condition of your employment for that employer, then you execute notarizations. She broke it down into those 3 categories, but here's something else she also mentioned. Let's say you change your name. She was talking about your responsibilities to the Secretary of State, or if you need to update your information. If you wanted to change your name, and this is very not unusual for women, right? They get married, or even if you wanted to change your name legally. I've had friends who changed their last names and so forth. And then also she's talked about this in terms of renewing. So when you first do this, you put your entire name. And for people like me who have really long names, the second time around, you might only do your first name, your middle initial, and then your last name. Or you may only do your first initial, your middle initial, and your last name. Or just your first initial, last name, things like that. But here's the thing. So let's say you're 2 years into your commission. You have a 4-year term, and you're 2 years into it, and you get married, or something that happens and you want to change your name. She talked about the obligation to notify the Secretary of State within the 30 days. All right, because that's a test question. But here's another thing that I don't think. See, the person who's teaching it, she's doing a fantastic job, by the way. A lot of learning. But this is how I know that she's a loan signing agent, and she's not what she would consider or categorize as a private employee notary. She said she's been self-employed notary for 18 years. But here's the difference. And this is the thing that I want to talk about. And this is what separates you and separates us from how we operate within this notary industry. She talked about this. She didn't mention this, but she kind of mentioned this, but this is why I think it was incorrect. She said that if you change your name, that you don't have to change your signature. All you have to do is scribble a line. And see, that's that's not accurate. I don't know if I would go as far as to say that it was incorrect or it was like maliciously wrong. I just know that that's inaccurate. Here's why I know that's inaccurate. Is because let's say you're sending a document internationally for an apostille and your name and then your signature doesn't match with what's on record. And how do I know this? Because this has happened to me. If your signature doesn't match what's on record with the county clerk or with alarms are going off with the Secretary of State, then they're gonna piece those two together, and your document's gonna get rejected, and your customers won't be happy because they've waited however many days, and then their document got rejected, and they can't send it internationally. So, they finished the module, and then they asked about any questions, and of course, me, I'm sitting right in the front, right? I'm right in her grill, right? But I didn't say anything. I didn't bring it up. I'll probably go talk to her about that at lunchtime. But like I said, the restrictions for California notaries is deep. We have to take a 6-hour class. You have to go through all this training, and don't get me wrong, it's incredibly valuable. The training is incredibly worth it, and it's a nice refresher too, especially in terms of like identifying people and witnesses and stuff like that. But I want you guys to be very, very cognizant of this. The way that you approach this industry, it must be as a business. She talked about how busy it was in the refinance boom during the pandemic. But I want you to be very clear, when you're thinking about this from a public employee standpoint or from a private employee standpoint, you think about this from a business owner. Your approach is going to be completely different. Your approach has to be like an enterprise. It can't be I'm just going to put my name on a bunch of listings and directories and then hope that I start making this worthwhile and worthy of my time. You have to approach this like a true business, and the training is not going to teach you how to do that. You have to go out and seek that on your own. The training, they're going to teach you how not to get sued. They're going to teach you how to pass the exam. They're going to teach you how not to get fined. They're going to teach you how not to get caught up in any type of fraud. But ultimately, how do you find clients? How do you remain busy? And how do you get your phone ringing? And how do you get out there and get experience? That's ultimately what's going to make it sustainable and make it worthwhile. I'm about to go back into the second level of training, and I'll check you guys later, man. I'll check in with you guys at the next break.